wasn't meant to be a YouTube video. I wrote it once for a small room at my college. Going back there made me feel a lot of things. That's where I grew up, met people, made decisions I was very confident about for no real reason. Did a fair amount of nonsense too. So this time when invited, instead of talking only about work, I talked about everything around it, the parts we usually skip. It felt wrong to keep that conversation and that story contained in that one room. So here we are. There is a moment most of us pass through where you are doing things, learning things, but you still don't quite know how any of it fits together. That's how it started for me. I come from a small town in Gujarat and design was not a very sensible option there. Neither was uncertainty. Most sensible versions of my life were already decided. I just didn't know that yet. So I come from a family of dentists. 6 of them as of now. Let's not get into that. So I naturally took biology, not because I loved it, because expectations have a way of disguising themselves as logic. DNA का थोड़ा peer pressure था, and I was absurdly bad at it. So what makes this story tolerable is that I was also a very self-obsessed, narcissistic kid. I was excellent at thinking about myself. I loved myself, or more accurately, the version of myself that existed exclusively in my head. So I took a lot of photos of myself, and then I discovered something deeply offensive. The photos disagreed. Instead of changing myself, I changed the photos aggressively. Photoshop became my coping mechanism. I edited my photos until they agreed with me. And here is the part I don't like admitting. That unhealthy self-fixation is what accidentally taught me the skill. Once I learned it, of course I wanted to be seen, so I showed off. And YouTube felt the most efficient way to do that. I recorded my screen, fixed the skin, added little muscles, corrected the reality, and to do that, I actually had to learn a video tool. That's how After Effects entered my life. At first, it was just another instrument of self-improvement propaganda, another way to prove something, but slowly, something shifted. What hooked me wasn't the software, it wasn't the career potential, it was the act of making things move. So for the first time, I enjoyed doing something without thinking about who it was for. I enjoyed being inside the work before it resolved. I didn't have a language for it then, but I was falling in love with how motion made me feel. Not successful, not impressive, just with being present. Later I noticed this pattern everywhere. It wasn't intentional, but somewhere along the way, I started thinking about my life the same way I thought about animation. And then something clicked. I decided the correct response was to build animation theories for my entire existence. And from that point on, I absolutely abused it. The biggest changes in my life were always seamless. They happened between moments. They say in motion, the best transitions are the one you don't notice. Everything became timing for me. Rushing never fixed anything. A linear animation and the eased one both reaches the end, but only one feels right. Waiting just a little longer than what felt comfortable often changed everything for me. Half a second can say more than a paragraph trying too hard. Timing, spacing, overshoots. Overshoots taught me something very important. Going too far isn't failure, it means something cared enough to try. Arcs taught me nothing human moves in a straight line. We anticipate, we overshoot, we squash, we stretch, we exaggerate, and somehow we still get there. That's when I stopped asking what the fuck was wrong with me. Nothing was broken. Life wasn't broken. It was just badly timed. If this feels slightly unhinged, that's fair, because congratulations, you've just sat through a very emotional explanation of the 12 principles of animation. Yeah. Now, the thing is, for the first time, Disney animators didn't write those as rules, they were just observations, noticing movement in moments, in ideas, in people, in yourself. Because once you start seeing motion, something quietly hopeful appears. Nothing is actually stuck. Some things are just mid-frame. And obviously, the second I realized this, my life transformed overnight. I became calm, enlightened, financially stable, my skin cleared, my posture improved, LinkedIn started calling me visionary, I began waking up at 3:43 am, I drank warm water voluntarily, my Spotify just recommended jazz. I started seeing things like everything happens for a reason. Dogs respected me. I entered my final... nothing like that actually happened. Nothing dramatic happened, things just slowed down a little. But over time, my days began organizing themselves around what actually mattered to me. Work gave me people. People became collaborators, and some of them stayed longer than the work. Somewhere in that, I stopped trying to build a life and noticed I was already living one. Something I once tried to force for the other people became something I couldn't imagine not doing. I don't think so this will look the same for you. It shouldn't. All I can really say is this, that if you stay with something long enough, it might surprise you. Not just with success, money, or validation, but with presence, with confidence on days you don't recognize yourself, with language for feelings you haven't named yet, with people you love more than planned and lose them anyway. You will still wake up not because you're ready, because morning arrives, and in that quiet, a few things remain. A way of seeing that helps the world make a little more sense. That's why I fell in love with it, and I hope you too. And trust me, it will love you back in the ways you never imagined. And maybe someday, without planning, you will make a video like this and give your own unhinged talk about the strange way you learn to understand life. I hope you really do, because somewhere, someone listening might be mid-frame.